Welcome to another video. In this video, we are going to do a practical demonstration for AWS S3 Multi-Factor Authentication Delete, where we are going to enable MFA on AWS S3. Okay, and we are going to see how we can enable it and disable it using AWS CLI. And I believe you already have gone through the theoretical video, which is covered in the previous one. So let us get started with the actual run. All right. So before we begin, I just want you to say that while I was going through this specific video, there was multiple errors that I was facing, and most probably the error will be faced by you. So don't need to worry. I will be covering each and every aspect of things and whatever the pinpoints that you need to keep in mind while you are actually performing AWS MFA, right? So let us get started. Let me go to AWS S3, and here there are few basic things that actually we need to do. So the first thing would be to create a bucket, obviously, and that could be the Shubham MFA. Okay, so this is my bucket name. The first checkpoint that you need to do is you need to enable the versioning. Okay, done. This part is done. Okay, so our part with AWS S3 is done. And when you go to properties and when you check under bucket versioning, we have multi-factor authentication, but there is no radio button or any checkbox to enable it. Here we have a small message which says that in order to enable MFA on AWS S3, you need to go through AWS SDK or AWS CLI. So we are going to do this with AWS CLI. All right. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to go to IAM, Identity and Access Management. Okay. So here is the point that you need to catch, right? Because I have gone through few of the videos where they are not specifically mentioning through which user you need to actually do it. Okay. This action, specifically this lab, should be performed with root account only. If you try to do this with the regular user, you will definitely face issue, and it won't actually work, right? So that's a primary requisite that you need to follow while performing this action. I've gone through multiple blogs, and that is how I was able to come to this conclusion. Yeah, so let us proceed with the next thing that we need to actually do. The second thing would be we need to go to identity and access management, and we actually need to search for security credentials. So go on my security credential. Right now, the user through which I am logged in is my root user, right? And for the same, what I have done, I have enabled multi-factor authentication for it. All right. If you haven't enabled MFA, just you need to assign a MFA. Okay. And now, what is a MFA device? So basically, it's an hardware. Okay. And if you don't have any, you can definitely go for Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator. Those works fine as well. In this specific lab, I am going to use Microsoft Authenticator for this demonstration. Second is the access key. So why do we need actually access key? Access keys are actually used to require any tags as an authentication for AWS CLI to connect it through our AWS console, right? AWS cloud, right? So if you haven't created any access key, so you can just create access key from here, right? However, I just created half an hour ago, so we are going to proceed with the same. Okay, the two things are done, and the third thing that we need to specifically work on is the commands. Don't worry, I'm going to explain you each and every command very precisely. Okay, so this is the repo that I am going to refer to, and I will be sharing you this repo so that you and I both are on same page. All right, so the first thing that you need to do is you need to configure a profile name root mfa delete demo. Okay, you can even rename it to something else. So yeah, let me paste it and let me press enter. So when you run this command, when you execute this command, it will ask you for authentication. So basically through which user you want to do it, right? So at that time, you will need the access keys and secret keys, which can be generated from here. I again will emphasize this needs to be done from root user only, right? So let me just fill in the details quickly. And the second thing that I want to pinpoint is the region that I'm in, that my bucket is currently created is in US East 1. It might vary in yours. However, you can use another region as per your reason. Okay. All right. So let me just fill in the details and get back to you. All right. So once you have entered the authentication access key and secret keys along with the region, this is the next step that you need to follow. This is the next command that you need to execute. Okay. So let us first understand this command before actually executing it. Okay. So here we have AWS S3 API. Now what actually is S3 API? So basically AWS S3 API is a command used to interact S3 using low level API. So basically it allows you the API access feature of S3 for enabling version and MFA delete. Okay. Now the second thing here is put bucket versioning. Now what it is? So basically this is the specific operation which can be performed. Basically we need to do a put operation. So basically that operation we are defining, it is used to configure the version settings for a specified S3 bucket. And now which specified bucket? So basically when I use hyphen hyphen bucket, I am providing the bucket name. Now in our case, what is the bucket name? When I go here, this is our bucket name. Okay, so let me just replace this specific one with the actual bucket name. Okay, all right. Okay, bucket name is on its place. Now the next thing here is version hyphen configuration. So this is the one I am talking about. Hyphen hyphen version hyphen configuration. Now what actually it is? So basically here we are defining the version configuration. Now what are the configurations? Basically status enabled and MFA delete enabled, right? So when you do status enabled, it enables versioning on S3 bucket, and when I do MFA delete enabled, it is enabling MFA delete. So which is currently disabled by default, you can see over here. All right, let us move forward. Now the next thing that we here noticing is hyphen hyphen MFA. Okay. Now hyphen hyphen MFA will require two things from you. That is an ARN and followed by the MFA code which can be generated through your authenticator app. Now which MFA ARN it is expecting? It is expecting the root account ARN, not a regular user ARN, right? So I'll just copy this ARN. I'll paste it over here. Okay, I'll press space sorry, and then followed by it will also request you for 6-digit code. I'm going to enter it soon, but let us cover the remaining things, that is hyphen hyphen profile. So the profile which we created earlier, so it is the same profile which you configured earlier, right, which asked you for access key and secret key. So that was all about this command, and let me just enter the 6-digit MFA code. So let me open my authenticator app. Okay, so the code could be 411921. Okay, let me enter. All right, it is showing an error. An error occurred, invalid argument when calling put bucket. MFA header is invalid. Uh, the header should be formatted as serial number space token name. Okay, all right, let us do it again. Let us go back. When you face errors, there are multiple things that you will be searching for, and then you will be able to troubleshoot it. You know what the issue was here? I have entered this specific error, this specific unnecessary tag. Now when I will execute this command, this will actually work, but let me throw another error. Okay, it actually worked. So basically what error I was expecting is, if my this 6-digit code has been expired, it will throw another error and it would have showed that your authentication code has been expired. So at that time, you just need to update this 6-digit code. All right. Okay. So that was all about enabling multi-factor authentication on AWS S3. Let me just go back. You can see on S3 bucket, it is currently disabled. Now I'll just do a normal refresh and we are good. You can see the multi-factor authentication is been enabled. All right. Next thing that we want to do is, as a part of this demonstration would be, let me upload an object. Okay. I'm uploading this screenshot. Done. Okay. Close. And let me just delete it. Okay. Cool. Now you can see there is no object present, but if you still remember, we enable versioning for it. We have all the snapshot as in backup which will be present. So I just enable the versioning and you can see the snapshot is currently present, which can be used for restoration purpose. Now what will happen when I actually delete the delete marker? So if you remember the theory that we learned in the previous one, if you try to delete a delete marker, the MFA won't allow you to delete it. So let us try to implement the same. Let me delete it, and you can see the message has occurred. You can't delete the object version because multi-factor authentication MFA is enabled for this bucket. Okay. Now, if I genuinely want to delete this MFA account thing, then how do I do that? I'll just run the previous command only. But the only thing and the only change that I need to do here is I just need to change the MFA delete enabled to disabled. And rest of the command remains the same. And also there is one more placeholder that you need to update is that is your 6-digit MFA code. Let me open my Microsoft Authenticator, and yeah. So this time the code has changed. So it is waiting for 3 seconds. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so 540,286. Enter. Command is executed. I'll go back to my bucket. I go back to properties, and here you can see the MF is disabled, right? That was all about how to enable, how to disable multi-factor authentication on AWS S3 bucket. Okay, now this bucket will be acting as a normal bucket. So when you try to delete it, it will give an error. You need to empty the objects. You need to delete all the objects before deleting the bucket. Okay, let me delete it, and it will actually behave as a normal bucket. Okay, now I'll delete the entire bucket as is. So that was all about AWS S3 MFA delete. I hope you like this one. If you are facing any issue, if you are getting any sort of error, I would be very much happy to help you out with that. Just uh, place your message and just post your message in the comment section along with the error message that you are getting, and I will definitely try my best to help you out with that. Right, so that was all, and see you in the next one. Thank you.